Hello everyone and welcome back to another review for Star Wars The Bad Batch. Today I'm taking a look at episodes, totally off when it comes to the numbers at this point. I've lost count, but I do have the episode names. Battle Scars and Reunion, which I think is 7 and 8, episodes 7 and 8, but like I said, I'm kind of off on the numbers, so we'll just ignore that and stick with the episode titles. So, I'm doing 2 today instead of doing, Battle Scars last week and Rampage. That was a couple weeks ago. And Reunion this week. The reason for that being is that when Battle Scars ended, I knew immediately that it was a part 1 of a part 2. And some of my thoughts on it would not necessarily be completely fleshed out until I saw the part 2. So I decided to hold my review for that and wait for the next episode to come out. And now that it has, so I'm 2 and 1 today. So we'll go ahead and start with Battle Scars really quick. I don't really have too much to say after all about this episode. My original thoughts were that this episode was a little boring. The first one that I really kind of thought was boring, and my initial critique is that I wish they had waited to save the Wrecker going nuts plot for the following episode when the Empire inevitably shows up. That was kind of my initial critique thoughts. It's like, I don't know. It kind of seemed like that they put in a fight here for a fight's sake. But after seeing Reunion, I'm like, no. They made the right choice here. Having Wreckers freak out be in the previous episode and not, because man, honestly, Reunion was a pretty busy episode. It's it's only like 23 minutes or whatever, but like it has a lot. It has a lot to do in that 23 minutes. Same with Battle Scars. So of course with Battle Scars we get Captain Rex back. This is not a surprise to anyone that has watched like any of the trailers, because I think Rex has been in like every trailer for the Bad Batch. That one shot where they're on Bracca and he steps up onto the top of the wreckage, and it's like, oh, yep, that's obviously Captain Rex. So good to see Rex back. I mean, Rex is the clone. He is the he's the guy that everyone loves when it comes to the clone troopers, so it's always good to see Rex back. That was a big celebratory moment when he was in Rebels, and now here he is in Bad Batch again, and it makes sense for him to be in Bad Batch. So yeah, good to see him back. He's definitely a little more cautious around other clones, especially when they still have their inhibitor chips, and he's also, as much as he's like, I don't want to bury any more of my brothers, he is not quite like a sucker where it's like, I'm not going to kill those men. It's like, haha, DC-17 pistols go pew pew. He's a little more trigger happy with them because he just knows how dangerous clones are with their inhibitor chips activated. So yeah, I mean, I kind of was on the episode when it first came out. Upon further consideration, seeing how Reunion turned out, my opinion of it went up a little bit. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, considering what happened in the next episode and where it seems like the story is going to be going from here, doing what they did, having Wrecker's meltdown there with the chip taking over, that seemed like, that was really the only place you could do it. As of right now, anyway, it seems that way. I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes from now, I might be saying, oh, this would have been the perfect place to hold Wrecker's inhibitor chip thing for blah, blah, blah. But we will see. I think that, for right now, I think they definitely made the right decision. So connections to the wider Star Wars universe, they, of course, go to Bracca, which is the opening level to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a game I don't really enjoy. I've gone over that before in several different places. But, connections like that are always cool. We also saw the Scrappers Guild, which, is straight up, here's the Cal Kestis character model, but with a mask over his face, just so, we can copy paste these guys. So it was cool. It was cool to see that identifiable poncho and everything, since Jedi Fallen Order loves its ponchos. So yeah, it was really cool to see those designs and like some familiar stuff. There was a Dianoga fight, which was cool. First time we've seen a Dianoga in a long time, really. Also, the first time I think they've referred to it by name. because, we as Star Wars nerds know what it's called, but I mean, they never identify it in A New Hope, and then it hasn't appeared in any of the other movies. I mean, maybe there's like an offhand reference to Dianoga or something in Rebels that I'm forgetting about. But I feel like this is like the first time that they've actually said the word Dianoga in canon, outside of printed material. Printed material a little bit different, but in terms of on screen, I think this is the first time they've talked about a Dianoga openly, which is it's okay. That's interesting note. So yeah, I really think that's kind of all I have to say about Battle Scars. Little bit of angst with the clones. Rex looking at his helmet, kind of obviously a build up to that line he has in Rebels about fought for all those years, all those men died, and for what? Kind of question the whole thing. He's definitely in that phase right now, but he's also kind of working search and rescue, it seems like, trying to find any survivors of the Republic, and maybe going to start to help the very, very nascent rebellion before he decides he gets too old and he retires to Selos. So my question with Rex now is that he kind of disappeared into that smoke, into the fog at the end of the episode. So I wonder if we're going to see him again, and will he have Gregor and Wolf with him, or just Gregor, or just Wolf? It's like he slowly gets his little posse together. So be interesting to see if we see him again. I would not be surprised if we see him again. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Battle Scars. Moving on to Reunion. A little bit of bait and switch with this episode of what we thought the reunion was. Obviously, Crosshair is that's a Transformer. Crosshair is back. Good to see Crosshair again. It's been several episodes. I guess he and his squad have probably been running around doing more dirty work for the Empire. And so now they finally have a confirmed sighting of Clone Force 99, so they're going to go in and try to eliminate them, which is a problem for our heroes. But then the Kaminoans also think it's a problem, because as far as Crosshair and the Empire are concerned, Omega is collateral damage or is acceptable losses or something, to where they're fine with Omega biting it. So the Kaminoans not exactly. So they send another bounty hunter, who of course does not show up until the end of the episode. So it's like, oh, they're hiring another bounty hunter. Who's this going to be? This will be interesting, but we got to wait in a whole episode to find out. So it was interesting putting most of the action inside the downed Venator, because the clones know those ships like the back of their hand, really. And Crosshair, being the one hunting them, he knows all their tricks, so he was able to corner them exactly where he wanted, because he knew what they would do, which was smart. But even then, even if he knows their tactics, the Clone Force 99 is still a squad that relies heavily on improvisation. So by having the cannons go off, and that then partially destroying the deck and causing everyone to fumble around on the ground, that was really smart. Not something you can necessarily predict. These early stormtroopers that are the conscripts that are working with Crosshair, they proved to be like normal stormtroopers, kind of useless. It's like against untrained people, sure, They because they themselves, they're trained more than like the Saw Gerrera's sort of kind of militia. They have more refined military type training, obviously, so they were able to take them out. But against Clone Force 99, they didn't prove to be so formidable, and that one guy just took a proton torpedo to the face. An unarmed proton torpedo, but a proton torpedo nonetheless. And speaking of to the face, Crosshair got a little cooked. I remember seeing that shot in the trailer where the ion engines turn back on, and it's sending some people flying. I didn't think much of it, but then this episode really shows the consequences of being caught right in that thing, and his Crosshair's helmet goes flying off, and he starts getting a little cooked, and it's like, oh gosh, that's actually really brutal. That's like, it's like, could there be some sort of like also radiation poisoning he could get from that or something. I don't know. I mean, it's an ion engine, but I mean, who knows? What that could what effect that could have on him. I wonder if maybe, if eventually, because I assume eventually they're going to get Crosshair back. They're going to figure out a way to turn off his inhibitor chip, get it out of his head, and get him back somehow. But I wonder if it starts to malfunction now because he got a little cooked. So that'll be interesting. A lot of great little touches in the episode in terms of details of them running around on the cruiser, and it's like obviously it's like they have like the one hallway that they just always reuse, which has always been funny with Star Wars. It's like, well, I mean, it's an entire station that reuses the same hallway, so we don't need to make a whole bunch of different hallways. We can just reuse the same hallway and call it different each time, which is fun. Now, the plan to destroy the engine, that's fun Bad Batch stuff. Their theme coming back as they're setting the explosives. Yeah, I don't really think I have too much else to say except for that big moment at the end with I mean, obviously this is a spoiler cast, so I can spoil it, but Cad Bane is back, which I heard that it's like all those clones are down, and it's like, okay, who did this to the clones? I thought it would be when Lama Su said that we need to send in another bounty hunter. I thought it was going to be a returning bounty hunter and not a new person. I didn't think it was going to be Fennec Shan because, of course, you're calling in another bounty hunter. So, but I was expecting like Dengar or Bosk or something like that. But instead, you hear that Corey Burton. It wasn't much work. And it's, and then I mean, that was I almost just screamed right out loud. And then the camera pans up from his boots and he's there with the hat and he's got the toothpick in. Bane and Crosshair could have a toothpick off instead of a shoot off, and then it's like, could this get any better? And then from out of the ship, here comes Todo 360 flying. Both of them are back. We got both of the boys back, which is great. I mean, it's the first time that Cad Bane has appeared in 9 years, I want to say, because his last actual appearance on Clone Wars was in season 4, the Obi-Wan undercover arc. And after that, he took a couple seasons off, but he was supposed to come back in an arc where he taught young Boba Fett how to be a proper bounty hunter. But, of course, the show got canceled, and so that arc never happened. So, Bane has sort of kind of been this weird enigma of a character that hasn't really appeared almost at all in the years since. He has had a couple of appearances here and there outside of visual media. He was in a Darth Maul comic that came out a couple years back that happened before Phantom Menace. So that's an appearance for Bane, but it's earlier in the timeline, so it sort of kind of doesn't count. And then of course there's Cad Bane art that Sabine made in Rebels that's in her cabin on the Ghost. But, that's more like a little Easter egg. And Imbo was there, too. So, Imbo was another one that I thought, are they going to bring in Imbo or something? But Cad Bane was not on my list of considerations for bounty hunters that could pop up, because in that arc that he was going to share with Boba Fett, it seems like Boba would have killed him. And they would have gotten into a shootout, and that's how that is how Boba got the dent in his helmet. Is that it came from Cad Bane, which is awesome. So, for the most part, Lucasfilm has considered these unfinished arcs to be canon. Obviously, the Bad Batch arc ended up being completed. The Crystal Crisis on Naboo arc still, and it's never been completed, but I think that's still considered to be canon. So I thought the same was going to be true of that Boba Fett arc, and I was really hoping that one day we'd maybe get something about that. But it seems like they're just throwing all that in the trash, which to a degree I'm sort of kind of fine with now, because the one upside to Clone Wars getting canceled is that Cad Bane survives the Clone Wars. Because otherwise he would not. It kind of seemed like so here we have Cad Bane back in the land of the living for the first time in 9 years. That shootout with Boba, I guess, just never happened, or maybe it did and he was never actually killed off. But we never So I mean, we saw both of them go down. But we never really knew the outcome of that fight since we just saw an early animatic. So maybe they'll. But with Book of Boba Fett coming out later this year, I wonder if bringing in Bane now is so. But speaking of shootouts, the shootout that he has here with Hunter, I mean, that's kind of what they, it's spiritually, that's what they were doing with Boba in that arc. So that did get completed. I mean, I think the shots are like the same too, from looking at the animatic and looking at the finished thing. They use the exact same shots and everything. It's just that instead of it being Boba and Bane on Tatooine, it is now Bane and Hunter on Bracca. So, and this time Bane won the fight. He was the faster draw, and he shot Hunter. Of course, that armor, really tough stuff, so it held up. He's alive, but he took Omega. So again, maybe one of my nitpick complaints is that it's like, okay, we've definitely seen. Starting to, Filoni, your stuff is starting to kind of go into familiar territory here, because we saw this with Mandalorian last, back in like December, and then here we are kind of doing something similar again in June. So it's like, the Bad Batch has been doing a pretty good job of differentiating itself for the most part. There's been a couple little things like that. It's like, okay, this is kind of familiar. So now the kid character's been kidnapped by someone that's not good anymore. So it's like, we'll have to see how all this plays out to make it different from Mando. But yeah, and it's like Bane was written so perfectly here. It's like, Corey Burton hasn't done this role in 9 years or so. Obviously, it hasn't actually been that long, because he recorded that arc for that didn't get finished. So it's been a little less time for him, but it's still been a while. I think Corey Burton is also maybe somewhat retired, because a lot of those voice actors that are now starting to get up there in age. So, but I mean, but he came in, he knocked it out of the park. Seth Green back as Hodo 360 as well. But he's bounced in and out of a lot of Star Wars animated projects over the last couple of years, so that wasn't a surprising get. But I mean, Bane was written so perfectly, every word out of his mouth. Hunter goes down, he walks up to Omega and just says, "Sorry, little lady," and stuns her. It's like just perfect. And then the kind of the Western guitar Kevin Kiner score, it's like, this is so great. I cannot wait for the next episode for more Bane. Yeah, I think this is my favorite episode of the show. Previously, I would probably say it would be the pilot, Aftermath, just because it's 70 minutes, so it's the premiere movie essentially, so there was a lot of juicy stuff to dig into there. But this episode had a lot of good action, had a lot of there were some good humor moments. A little bit of plot development. We got Crosshair back and everything, and then Cad Bane at the end. So I mean, and then cherry on top of everything, we got a really nice homage to Republic Commando when Hunter woke up after Omega had been taken, and his HUD was straight out of Republic Commando. You even heard the HUD reboot sound that they used was the health bar refilling when you get back to Republic Commando. We've seen similar HUDs prior to there. We saw it with Gregor in Season 5. We saw also a very similar but more simplistic HUD like that in Season 2 from Cody's point of view when they're in the Progate Temple on Geonosis. But this was the first one that was the HUD was fully activated. Every little detail was exactly as it was in the game. Down to noises and everything, which was really awesome. So that was really cool. So I am very, very excited for next episode. I'm assuming that we're going to get more Cad Bane in the next episode. Probably more Fennec Shand too, because there's shots of Fennec Shand from the trailer that we haven't gotten yet. So I assume that she's maybe going to try to steal that bounty from Bane. But I mean, Bane is back, and I really doubt he's going anywhere anytime soon. Because I don't think that they would bring him back and then kill him off the next episode to help prop up Fennec Shand as this really cool bounty hunter person. I don't think. Because yes, that's what they're going to do with Boba, but the gap of time that we wouldn't, it would have been it's Bane would have been, it would have been we would have been, it's like he would have taken like 2 years off or whatever. But by the time he would have come back on the show, it's like, oh yeah, Bane's back. It would have still been, this is just Bane's story in the show, and that's how it ends. Where now it's been 9 years since we last saw him, and that wasn't necessarily to design because Clone Wars got canceled. So now instead, it'd be weird to bring him back. It's like, all right, he's back and he's dead. I don't think they would do that. So, who knows? We'll see. Bodies drop in Clone Wars all the time. I just don't think Bane is going to be one of them. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, pretty good episodes all around. I'm still so in love with the show. I'm loving it, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. So, and also, one thing that's been noted online is that we've seen 98% of the footage that's been in the trailers. So, we've got half a season left to go, and we have seen almost next to nothing from it except for a couple of shots with Fennec Shand. So, I'm excited. What mysteries and stuff are in store for us. So I'm very excited. So yeah, that'll be it for this review. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys. I already said that, but so yeah, bye.